Hey, so the other day I put up this video where you might have seen these characters where I had a couple little still shots of, and they were making some fantastic claims about Mormonism. Some of them may have been similar to the ones where these guys were doing in somebody else's video, but many of them were different. And I decided to post on this Mormon doctrine subreddit that I've been talking about 13 items that are kind of mind benders for me. Well, if you're trying to wrap your mind around them within LDS history and doctrine. So I put a little challenge up for people to try to put them in order and see which one was the most difficult, or put them in as much order as you want. So let's take a look at that. These are just some really wild things that we need to wrap our minds around if we're going to believe. Of course, the best idea is just to not know them, probably, if you're going to remain a tithe payer. But let's go. Let's check them out. Gonna go to vertical mode here once again. Alrighty, here we are in Reddit. And notifications. Posts, my posts. Alright, here we go. Let's click on it. Alright. Try ranking. So this is Mormon Doctrine subreddit. It's been up for 9 minutes. Try ranking these in order of most difficult to reconcile. That's the title. 13 of my top LDS doctrinal or historical zingers. How about participating in voting in order of your top priorities of these particular selections in the difficulty factor of the mental gymnastics or the amount of micrograms of LSD 25 you might think you would need to wrap your mind around reconciling these items to the narrative of an all-knowing, unchanging, perfect in every way God guiding the LDS Church. All right, here we go. A. I don't even show the A. Did I erase the A? Well, I'll correct that later for these people. The first one, so we're going to call it A, says, in the Book of Moses, which is in the Pearl of Great Price, chapter 4, we're already talking about Satan. But he doesn't even show up until, in the Old Testament, until Chronicles and then Job. B. Jaredites are talking about Jesus Christ around 2200 BC, long before Greek is ever invented. The Greek language, like for words like Jesus and Christ. Okay, C. Book of Moses. Adam gets baptized, but baptism's never mentioned ever in the Old Testament. Maybe the Catholic Church took it out of about 3 dozen books. D. In the Book of Mormon, in places like Alma, for instance, we find New Testament arguments, language, and quotes, or near quotes from New Testament characters during the Old Testament timeline before they would have even existed. If they did. E. 2 Nephi chapter 5 verses 15 and 16. Nephi tells us all about the great gold and silver and precious things they've got in abundance in verse 15, but in the next verse 16, he can't find them when they get ready to build the temple like a temple of Solomon, because they're not to be found in the land. F. The prophet Abinadi narrowly escapes with his life from King Noah, who wants to waste him. After he hides for a couple years, he comes back in a disguise. However, he totally blows it in front of the people by saying, the Lord talked to me and said, Abinadi, Abinadi. To quote Sean McCraney, what's the disguise for? Sean is so funny. Well, yeah, what's the disguise for? Oh, Joseph. G. Book of Abraham. Some guy named Jehovah comes down to rescue Abraham. saying, Abraham, Abraham, my name is Jehovah, and I've come down here to save you from this evil priest. However, according to the story of Abraham like we find in Genesis, this is before, by the way, he goes into Egypt. His name wasn't Abraham, it was Abraham. Abram at that time. He got renamed like after they got out of Egypt, and maybe they had one child from Hagar, or maybe they had both the children. So, oops! Continuing in that same vein, Jehovah, the guy that saves him, says that his name is Jehovah. This is in the Book of Abraham. Supposedly the setting is about 2000 BC, but the occultist turned Catholic monk, which isn't necessarily a contradiction, with the alcoholic name of Martini, has not yet invented the name Jehovah, or what becomes Jehovah. In fact, he doesn't do that till about the 13th century A.D. Oops, someone apparently forgot to tell Joseph Smith that Mr. Tyndale decided to put that new name into the Bible, like, I don't know, 1600. So Joseph Smith could have seen it in his Bible, and maybe he thought that that was actually an ancient Hebrew name or something, that a Catholic didn't make it up. A Catholic priest, a monk from the Church of the Devil, made up the name that he used. Not only there, but as we're going to find out in the Book of Mormon and in the temple. But those are the next two. So it says, now you think about that anachronism for even using a completely made-up name and trying to put it back around 2000 BC. Yeah. Even when the apologists try to say that, oh, well, they were just copying some things that were from Abraham and put it on something near the time of Jesus, you're still like way over 1,000 years out. Sorry. All right, better yet, it's in the Book of Mormon. That's I, J, and it's in the Temple Endowment. That's right, the premortal Jesus. In the premortal existence, before the earth was ever made, he's got the name that the Catholics made up. Nice. And I'd just like to add, to be temple worthy, in K here, you can't drink alcohol. Yet the guy who makes up the name for Jesus, his premortal name of Jehovah, is named after a mixed drink, or a mixed drink is named after him. Martini, used with hard liquor. I just thought that was ironic. That might not be your number one, but it's pretty funny. So we got 13 of them here, and we're getting pretty close to the end of them. Another irony, L, not L God, but the alphabetical number here, so we're going to rank these like 1 is A, 2 is F, whatever. Another irony is that Nephi is baptizing people. Nephi, like first Nephi, so like his daddy must have known something about baptism. Somewhere they got baptism going on again. Jeremiah's a prophet across town. Of course, he'd never heard of baptism. Neither had anybody in the Old Testament, and that's 600 BC. M. Joseph Smith tells us that disembodied spirits, people without bodies, non-resurrected beings, if they follow the devil, they'll try to shake hands with you if they appear to you. If you put out your hand, you can find that in the Doctrine and Covenants. But they'll just try to trick you, and then you won't feel any hand there. Why do Peter, James, and John shake hands with Adam in the endowment? They haven't been born yet. They'd be spirits. He says that the spirits that follow God wouldn't do that because they wouldn't try to deceive you. Okay. Anyway, that's 13 of them. If I can count correctly, so that's M. And so the challenge was to rank them. If you want to go on here and rank them, so what does it says? What do I got? Yeah. So I came up with, my number 1 was J. And then 2 was I, and 3 was H. Yeah, they all deal with Jehovah being completely anachronistic in its use in the Book of Mormon, the Temple Endowment, and the Book of Abraham. Since the Catholics made them up, Yeah. Okay, hey, well, I'll tell you what. Share it if you want to. Like it if you want to. Because it kind of helps other people see these, supposedly, with the, algorithm that YouTube uses. And if you can even just leave a little comment, especially if you never have, I don't know if you feel like you need to like create an alternate ID or something, you know, to hide who you are or whatever. But I think it's nice to, we get hundreds of viewers, but I kind of want to know who you are. I mean, you don't have to say your real name, but whatever your YouTube ID is, and if you have something to say, just a little comment if you want to. And they kind of help probably with YouTube's algorithm so that more people get to see this, and more people can try to ask themselves, what's Jehovah doing in these scriptures before he's ever invented? Okay. Yeah, especially in the Book of Mormon. Oh, gosh. Nice. Dodger game out. Have a nice evening.